Here's 5 common mistakes that most small yards make.
Don't you worry, because we have all the solutions.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with number 1, too many plants. This is a common mistake that we see a lot because oftentimes people don't consider that plants grow. You know what I mean? Like people buy it, put it in their truck, bring it home, or even have a contractor brings it all, and then they start planting it, and what happens?
It looks like a jungle. I like a jungle, but you have to have the space for it. And you need to have some structure, because I think another big issue is that if there's no layers and everything's about the same height, it really just looks like a giant mess.
It does. And so with the small space, it's so powerful to just minimize the amount you use and pick the right plants.
So another common mistake we see is forgetting to add a focal point.
Yeah, it's true.
When I sit down, that is the first thing I do. I look at this entire yard. I think, where is all of this pointing at? Where is the one most important focus of this yard? And once I establish that, everything else should come together.
Well, I was gonna say too, it's so important to help distract you, right, from the size of the space. So having something where your interest is immediately drawn to is such a powerful way to distract you from the size of the space. So I think focal points are really a critical way to minimize the understanding of the space.
Well, and they really help you play with the illusion of more space if they're done correctly. A lot of the yards that we work in, they're really small, and that's how we manufacture space that doesn't exist, by creating amazing focal points.
So true. Okay, so I love this one. I'm glad we're on number 3, because keeping the same level, same floor plan for everything is
boring.
so boring. Yeah, boring. It literally is. Like,
Right.
why would you want everything to be the same level when you can either sink it or raise it? So one of the things we love to do, and we play with this a lot, is creating elevations. Creating like almost like, what would you say?
A step up, a step down.
Or even like rooms, you know, like almost like this idea of like a different section defined by the elevation of it.
And anything where your eye has a place to go. We love to throw in a random curve when everything else is straight lines. Anything that can just break up the flatness of a space is really gonna create power in the design.
I love it too, because it changes perspective. Like, remember when we were sitting in that sunken seating area, you're kind of looking up, the wall all of a sudden becomes taller. The plants all of a sudden become bigger. Your house is in a different perspective.
That's how you play with space. Exactly.
Yeah, and so really think through that when you're planning your space, or you have a contractor or designer doing it, is playing with elevations really helps create and mix up the space you have. It makes it feel bigger. Okay, so this one is so good. We just made it a bonus, because if you do any of these, this is the one to make sure you incorporate. It's water. Incorporate water. It makes such a difference in the way it sounds, the way it looks, the way it creates that focal point for you.
And it doesn't matter if it's the smallest water feature, it can be tiny, as long as you have that movement, as long as you have water, a basin, anything that water is life. And it really livens up the space in a way that no other element can.
It awakens your senses. It awakens your senses of just that, like when you're by a natural stream or brook, just hearing that sound, there's something so calming about it. So incorporating their own space.
So don't forget this one. All right, let's get back to it. Lighting. Now, I know everyone understands that lighting is so important, but what we love to do is put lighting in unexpected places. Seriously, beyond the plants, where are some places we put it?
Well, I love it. Like, there's places where you can literally buy a tree full of 5,000 lights. There's places where you can insert an LED light bar, and we've even done this and called it out with cutting it into stone. I mean, seriously, there's limitless options.
There's no limits.
Yeah, no limits on these options, because especially with the, you know, just LED as now the standard, there's so much opportunity. You don't have to be stuck with a bulb.
Well, what I love, if you do lights right, you're gonna have 2 different experiences, one in the day and one at night. It's gonna be a totally different space. There's so many spaces where I love just to see them at night, because it feels like some magical wonderland.
And so imagine this, with lighting, you're doubling your value of your space, right? So you have the day to enjoy it, and then you come back, it's a whole new experience. So it feels like 2 spaces.
Sum it up, don't forget these lights.
Yeah. Number 5, we're at the end here. Now, this is one that actually surprises a lot of people, but a very, very common mistake. Not considering hiring a designer for a small space. Oftentimes you're like, oh, I just have a smaller space to work with, 500 square feet, 1,000 square feet. What can be done? And I hope by the time you've been watching this and all the shots we've been showing you, you really have limitless options.
And I would have to say, as a designer, small spaces are more challenging, because every square foot matters. So you really need to have someone that understands how to work with the space you have and turn it into something amazing and magical.
One of the things I think too that's a very common mistake with not hiring a designer is that you often think your options are limited. Your options are minimized. They're not limited, because you can do the lighting, you can do a water feature, you can do like so many of the things that you see on a larger estates or a more normal sized yard. You just have to minimize the size of them. You can do almost everything possible with the same size yard. Okay, so to wrap this all up, isn't it amazing to realize that you are not limited to just basic options for a small space?
The sky's the limit. So really make sure you take all this into consideration whenever you're considering transforming your small space. So we hope this video helps you avoid some common design mistakes and that you get the yard and landscape of your dreams.
What are some of the common design mistakes you've seen? Leave a comment below. So if you want more design inspiration, make sure and watch this video.